started. I want to welcome everyone to today's session. And we're going to actually be talking about drilling and filtering today. So that's on the agenda for today. We can see that we'll be reviewing the ability to drill in and use dimensions to aggregate our data. And how do we filter the data? So these are two common features that generally speaking, you're going to use all the time, within the interface. So just thought we would spend some time going over those concepts, and that way you'll just be that much more efficient with view building, view navigation, and getting what you need, from the Stratum Data Hub. So again, we can either start with a view from scratch, or you can run a view. It doesn't really matter. As you can see, I'm running a view now called comparative sales. So this view just gives me some dimensions off the bat. As you can see, I've got a navigational area in the interface up on top that tells me the dimensions that are available for me to drill to. And as we can see, it starts out at the product brand level. So we're looking at all product brands. And yeah, I mean, to drill from one dimension to another, we can see that region would be our next level down. So we could choose a specific brand like Tip Top, for instance, and click on that. And then obviously that drills us down to the next level specified within the view, in this case, region. Notice how the navigator tells me that I've clicked in on brand 001, and then I'm looking at all regions basically that fit that criteria for 001. So, and we can see the sales data getting, disseminated out between the regions, obviously, which is what we would want to see there. And then I could go on and, and drill back if I wanted to, or I can drill further into sold to see what's, which accounts are comprising of some of these numbers. For instance, I can drill in on East, and now I've drilled in on product brand 001, region 330, and now it's basically showing me all the sold tos that basically fit that combination. We can see that the sales data over here reflects that combination, and we can see how the data is kind of spread out through all the accounts for the different sales columns that we see over to the right, which are basically just rolling 3-month scenarios. We've got current month sales in the middle here, and to the far right, we've got year-to-date sales this year versus last. Okay, so simple drilling, just being able to drill and click on the area where you want to focus down on more. And then going back, is a matter of clicking back to where you were before. So now I've toggled all the way back to the product brand level just by simply clicking back on those levels. If we were to drill in, for instance, on Tip Top again, and then drilling in on the region level instead of drilling in on a specific region itself, as you can see, the actual level name is highlighted and hypertexted. So if you click on that, it actually drills in on both East and West. So we can see that there's a way to actually drill in on those, multiple members is what we call those for each level. In this case, we've only got 2, and it shows quite nicely. If I were to dump this down to Excel, it would be formatted, and I would just have to click on my export to Excel button, and then that would just get dumped as you see it into the Excel spreadsheet. So being able to drill in on a specific region or on all regions, in this case, by clicking on the header, which allows me to see the sold tos for both regions in one report. So big difference there, right? Whether I click in on a given region, I then get focused on that specific region that I click in on. Drilling back to product brand, again, takes me back to square zero for the view. Okay. And then I can certainly use the navigational area to maybe change things around. As you can see, you can drop these things around, drag and drop them to dictate the order in which you want to drill in on these levels. that are already part of the view. If you don't have a level here that you want to see, as you can see, there's a little plus sign to the right, and it allows you to add in the level that you don't see that you need, for instance, customer class. Once you do that, it sticks the level into the next spot as if you want to drill directly to that level, in this case from company to customer class, which gives me the US and Canada customers broken out so I can see the aggregate of USA versus Canada sales. Again, drilling back in on the header gives you, now I can see it by food service and grocery retail division as well. Notice that I also can drill in on uh, the measures. As you can see, they're going to take me somewhere as well. So this is actually a fairly new feature where you can dictate by measure where the user would go next. For instance, if I want to see, click here to see open order review by week, by product for this row. So if I were to click in on that particular row, I can see that it actually filters the view that I drill to by that account that I clicked on, and it's showing me the ship tos and all the open orders, basically the backlog for these accounts and the ship tos, so that I can see what's open for past, what obviously orders we have shipped yet that are due or past due actually, and then what's in the hopper in terms of future orders being scheduled to ship. So this gives me a better idea of, for instance, for Sumter, if I were to click in on Sumter, it's now drilling me and changing that filter to Sumter and showing me all the different Sumter open orders here as well. So you're taking a user from one view to another, right? And you're able to click and direct the user in a guided fashion to that next analytical view. And it makes sense here because it's monthly sales. We could see that we're probably not in a, maybe we're halfway through September. This would give me a better clue as to, not only what we sold and what we shipped, but what's basically in the hopper for that we haven't shipped yet. And here I clicked in on Midwest providers, and now I can get a better feel for all the orders that haven't shipped yet in the next 6 weeks out. So how does that get set up? If we look at the properties of that column, I can right click that column header, and if I select properties, we could see that there's a drill down view specified down here on the bottom properties. Um, and you simply just specify which view that you want to take them to next as part of that drill down. And it shows you all the different views that are available to drill to. We can see there's another one here for the year-to-date sales column. If I right-click that and select properties, we can see that this particular column is taking us to a different view. So instead of open orders, it's going to show us the trended sales. So we can see here that we have a view that has a column of year-to-date months, but we really can't see the monthly trend, can we, from this particular view? Well, according to this, we can click in on that column or that particular row for that measure, and it will show us that for Sumter Foods. We can see, or I'm sorry, Wilder. So now we can see the how the monthly sales data is being spread out. We can see a big August there for sales. Just blew away last year's number. So looks like we're on our way to a pretty good year this year versus last year in terms of monthly sales. So that was Wilder, Eastern America. We can check out Sumter Eastern, and we can play the same game. That 12.9 mil. And then we can see how that gets. And it's, obviously I've got a filter here for a given brand. It must be part of the original view. You probably would want to get rid of. There's that 12.9 number, and we can see how that get spread out through the different months. So that's cool too, right? So for one column, you can send them to open orders. And then the other column over here to the right for the year-to-date sales, you could send them over to a trended style view that would give them, the monthly sales that they're looking for. And those are called drill to views, where you could set that up, drill down views, and the newest release allows you to set that up by the different measure columns that you have within the view. So if I had one over here on the rolling, I could, as you can see, it's not set up yet. I would just turn that on and select the view that I want to drill to. Pretty simple to set up, actually. Probably one of the more underused features in our product. I would suggest definitely want to look into using that. It's a powerful feature. It really kind of extends the product, and it's powerful. I think that could tell a powerful story, analytical story, as long as you think about, where you're starting and where you want to take them. What makes sense for them to see next. A good example again is if you're using time range views, maybe perhaps take them to a trended style view that has time as a dimension. So again, if we were to click in on Harrington's 25 mil, and again, just getting rid of that product brand filter, we could see how that 25 mil gets spread out then throughout the months. Whereas before, we could see the 25 mil, but we can't see it by month. So if you take them to a view that shows them that, and then boom, you've got, the numbers foot, they feel even more confident about the numbers, and then they can rely on the fact that these are accurate, and these are the monthly numbers for that account. So the drill down view, not only being able to drill, obviously, within the dimensions of the view, but then taking them to another view really kind of makes that story much more powerful. And as you drill, filtering becomes a thing as well. So as you start filtering data, for instance, maybe there's a given customer you're looking for, and you just want to make a view or save this view on a given group of customers. So how would I pursue a filter within this particular view here? There's a couple ways I could pursue that actually. So one of the first ways would be I can right click on customer sold to and go to filter. And this allows me to then edit a filter that basically doesn't exist yet. And maybe I want to make this a Harrington's view where I could just select Harrington's East and West. So once I click OK to that, it will then filter the sold to customer level and obviously just show me the Harrington's accounts that I just selected. Another thing you'll notice about the view is that it will also illuminate my filter menu up there in the file menu area. We can see a big, filter icon now illuminated in red. And as I click in on that, it's going to tell me where the filters are applied. It gives me almost like a global view of how the filters are applied here. And we can see that sold to has been filtered based on the filter that we supplied for the Harrington's divisions, East and West. We can also see that there's really no other filters going on. So that's good to know. As we notice there's a tabular menu, and as we move into the data measures, we can see there's no filters there either. As a matter of fact, there's a concept called axes filter, and there's nothing there as well. The axes filters allows you to really kind of expand your filter to more than one column. Maybe I can do an if statement where sales this year and last year are over a certain number. I would be able to do that using an axis filter. So let me go in and show that you can actually manage this filter if I wanted to exclude these accounts instead of including them. So that's a nice feature that's available in some of the more recent releases, is this ability to this ability to kind of say, well, I don't want to see these accounts. I actually want to exclude the Harrington accounts from my view. As I click OK, it's now going to show me everything but the Harrington account. You know, since I've excluded, now it indicates that we've excluded the Harrington's East and Western divisions. So that's available, if I wanted to either include or exclude as a toggle, and I can go ahead and go back to what my original intent was here, and that is to filter on Harringtons. And of course, now I can drill if I wanted to see what product brands are being sold to Harrington. I can drag and drop product brand over, and I can drill in on the header, and it will show me both divisions for Harringtons. And as we could see, all the different product brand mixes that are being sold to those divisions. So the filter stays alive as we drill down clearly. I can also drag and drop that filter up to the view filter area, and now it's actually doing the same thing. It's filtering the view on Harrington's East and West, but notice how that it kind of gets them out of the way. I know that this is a Harrington view. Maybe I want to buy more real estate down on the data grid. And so I can then just drag and drop that up. It serves the same purpose. It's providing the filter for Harringtons, but now it's kind of like, abbreviated so that, I can have more real estate down on the data grid for the Harrington data. So that's called a view filter. And as you drag and drop things, for instance, Tip Top, I can drag and drop up as well, and it will filter on that product brand of Tip Top. And then, if I want to see all the regions for, clearly that's just being sold into the East region for that combination of Tip Top and the Harrington's account. If I wanted to see the products that are being sold for that combination, we can see that the product brand is clearly only one item in this case. If you want to bring these back down, you can drag them back down, and then they become part of the data grid again. Right? If we were to look at our filter menu, we can see that, nothing's really changed. We still have that filter on the Harrington piece. If I want to delete the filter in that filter menu, I could do that as well and click on the X button to delete the filter for customer sold to. And now I have no filters going on. So the filter menu is gray, telling me that there are no filters. Now, again, I'm going to filter now more on the sold to. I'm going to go back into the filter edit. Right clicking on sold to and doing a filter edit. There's other ways that I could filter the data. As you can see, I can change the filter type. By changing the filter type, I can specify the filter method that I want to pursue to create the filter. By default, the member list filter, which is what we've been dealing with, is available. What is user list? What happens if I click OK to that? Well, it supplies a list that's already been defined, and that's what we call a user list. For instance, we can see that I've got a user list created by Frank, and it's called East Customers. So if I apply that filter here, we can see that the filter now has been applied by that user list East Customers, and we can see all the different customers that are available as part of that user list. So instead of selecting the customers one by one, I use the list that's already available, and I'm now using that as my filter. And that's called a user list filter. And you can create user list actually by going into your menu, upper right-hand menu there, and going into the user list filter menu. So under manage things, user list, I can then see all the user lists that are available within the product. Creating a user list, for instance, if I wanted to create a new user list, I can click on new, give it a user list name, product A, maybe A class products, And then I can go out and select the products that I want to make available. I would select my level, make that product. Right. And now it says product for all my dimension, hierarchy, and level. And I can go out and select all the different products that are available. This is my list. I can search for product descriptions. Maybe there's certain cherry products I'm looking for, or peaches. I know we have peaches. Looks like we've already selected them. And then you can find them and select them down. Oh, you might want to change that search by to the actual description. There we go. I was wondering where everything was. I knew we had more peaches. There we go. Looking for just peach in the product long description. And you can add those in as well. So I'm building a user list on the fly based on my search criteria. Right, and click OK to that. It shows you I've got 9 products that I've selected. So again, that's one way to create the user list. Uh, if you go into help, your online help, you can get into user list filters, how to create user lists. Just go ahead and search for user lists, and you'll get hit with a lot of good information about how to create a user list. And because this is maybe it's a list of accounts that you're constantly defining over and over again, and it just might be more advantageous to save it as a list. And you can do it at any level. So if there's certain products that you're managing, you can do that certainly at product level as well. Okay. Okay. And then filtering on the actual data columns. We haven't looked at that. So not only can I filter on levels, and we kind of looked at that. How do I filter on, for instance, maybe I want to see my top 5 customer sold tos based on year-to-date sales. How do I do that? Well, first of all, if you go to the sold to level, I've dragged and dropped that over and made my first row. And now I've got all the different sold tos. And I'm going to go over to my year-to-date sales column. I'm going to right-click that, and I'm going to select filter edit, just like I did on my dimensions. And as you can see, I get a different menu. I get something that's more suited for numbers. Maybe I want to show data over a certain number, what accounts are making more than 10 million this year. You can play games like that. And we can see these are the accounts that are over 10 million in sales, right? I can do less than or equal to, or less than might be a certain interesting thing to play around with. Who's less than 50,000? You know, nobody. Well, that's good. So you can play some games like that. Who's less than 100,000? Nobody. So I'm glad about that. So you can play those types of games. Then there's these top and bottom counts that you can play around with. Your top count is basically what I was looking for in the first place. My top 5 customers for year-to-date sales, and we can see right there who they are. We can also get in the others. If I go to the properties for sold to, I can turn on the all others break for that level, and we can see that not only can we get the top 5 customers, but now we get an all others line as well. So we can get a kind of perspective of what the other customers are doing. I wanted to change that to top 10 instead of top 5. Certainly very easy to do. We got 49 grand in the all others bucket. Again, the filter menu is illuminated, telling me that indeed I've got a top 10 count for that year-to-date sales column. So again, using that filter menu, I'm able to manage it in multiple spots. If I wanted to change it here, I can change it there. It's a bit redundant, but that's a good thing. So as I play more with the top percent, who's my top 10% of customers, it might be interesting if that's your top 10. Who's my top 25 in terms of percent of sales? We could see that there's basically two customers comprising of your top 25% of sales. So these are valuable customers. And then the bottom feeders. What if I wanted to look at the bottom count? Who are my bottom 10 based on low sales? As we can see, these numbers are much lower than the numbers that we were looking at earlier. We can see that it's definitely a different list of customers here. So being able to filter on the measure items, it's definitely something that you want to look into and play around with, so that you can get what you need. This is also really good for dashboarding and graphing or charting. You don't want to chart thousands of customers. You probably do have thousands upon thousands of different sold tos, and God forbid ship tos. So this really kind of allows you to put a fence around what it is you're trying to graph or chart within either a dashboard or using the Power BI connector. Those are different graphical tools that you can use with Stratum. Using these filters is a great way to manage that, so that you're not, your graphs aren't and charts aren't too busy, which is, obviously a no. So again, filtering on a level and or filtering on the actual measure, and we've kind of went into some of those options. And as you can see, it's a pretty powerful part of the product, being able to get what you need, get what you want out of it, aggregate the data on the different levels that you have available. And then some of the newer features we've made available is being able to add an attribute, and to sort maybe on that as well. Here I've got some different things that I can bring in here to sort and filter on. And actually product would probably be a better thing to show for that. So here I've got some products. If I bring in like list price, and I can filter on that too. So this is a new feature where I'm able to bring in an attribute, and now I can right click and filter on that. Anything that contains or greater than. So that's new, right? This is something that we added just recently, where you can provide filters on numerical attribute columns. If I check the properties on that attribute column, I can see that it is a number column. If it's not, it'll be text. And if it is truly numeric, then you should be able to go ahead and change that in the properties, so that you can apply those filters or do those sorts, in this, and it'll treat that column as a numeric column for that attribute. Okay. Some of the attributes may not be numeric, obviously. Maybe they could be a date, a date field, or they could be nothing at all, like an X. So, but as you can see, you can bring in multiple attributes, and some of them may be numeric, and that's something that you would want to deem as numeric. Definitely list price, as we can see, is definitely a numerical field. And then being able to designate that as a numerical number field will make the filters and the sort work as intended.